Welcome back to the OHL Fanboys podcast from Day 6 of the 2017 MasterCard Memorial Cup at the rainy WFCU Centre here in Windsor, Ontario, under Tarp City. I am Steve McLean. Of course, Brian Thompson not here once again. Too wrapped up in his work world, I tell you. But we do have Steve Fitzsimmons, who normally is the voice of the Guelph Storm, one of the voices of the Guelph Storm, yes. Anyway. But for at the Memorial Cup here and throughout the playoffs, you've been a color analyst with the Erie Otters. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
We'll talk about, how does that come about? Because all year it's been a rough go with us in Guelph for the last couple of years. So you must have missed playoff hockey or something. How did you get in with the Erie Otters?
Well, Aaron Cooney and I are very good friends, and Aaron on the road doesn't work with anybody on his radio broadcast. So they were playing back-to-back nights in Owen Sound, which is just 35 minutes from my house, and Aaron said to me, why don't you come up and do the games with me? And so I did, and it kind of evolved from there, and today will be the 11th game I've actually done with Erie so far this year.
So were you just doing it because you went? I'm pretty sure you got down to a couple games in Erie. Did you not? Or?
I did not do any games in Erie, but I've been to every series but Mississauga so far.
Okay,
done some games, yeah.
So you had the tight confines in Owen Sound because you
certainly did.
You've actually now. I believe we've because we've had you on the show before, right. The audio-only version. Yeah. You had called some games up there for the Attack at one point, I believe, or
no,
was it for the Storm?
It basically was I was the president of our minor hockey association in Hanover, and we ended up having an OHL exhibition game there between Erie, strangely enough, and the Owen Sound Attack, and it was in the Hanover Arena, and so I did that game with Bill Granger actually, and we had it on radio, so that was my one and only Owen Sound Attack broadcast as the Owen Sound Attack broadcaster.
Yeah, because if anyone follows you on Twitter, at Steve Fitzsimmons, by the way,
play-by-play guy.
Play-by-play. Damn,
it's all good.
That's you know what, you get so many different Twitter guys you got to follow. Sometimes you forget the ones that change it up a little bit. But anyone who follows you on Twitter knows about you in the town of Hanover. You're actually city councilor there. On OHL broadcasts, normally during a kind of election cycles, you're not allowed to be on OHL TV. We've seen that in Barrie. We saw that in Guelph. So Bill Granger had to kind of take over the reins for a little while there.
Absolutely. It's actually a law in Ontario that, and obviously that's, Guelph is an hour and 20 minutes from Hanover, and it wouldn't really have any impact on Hanover electors, I'm quite sure, that I do that. But you're right, I wasn't able to be on broadcast for about 6 weeks during the election campaign.
Yeah, well, we can mention it here, so it's
there
fine.
You go.
We don't have any rules on this show.
Good.
So, obviously, so you kind of brought your town represented here.
I did.
There's a bit of a microbrew up there in Grey County. Tell us about that.
So it's called McLean's Ales, strangely enough, and it's brewed and their headquarters is in Hanover, Ontario, of course, which is where I live. So I have brought you some beer to purvey, and hopefully your guys
we won't drink it out here, obviously.
Well, no, that would be against the rules, but I'm sure you'll find a place and time to do that. But I hope you enjoy it.
Oh, thank you so much. So you brought some beer. The Otters brought us beer. Trevor Georgie, we just had brought us Tim Hortons. If you want to be on the show, I think you're going to actually have to ask us now and bring.
Come on,
gifts,
RJ Broadhead, what are you going to bring?
Exactly.
Let's get something good.
Let's talk about the Otters now. Obviously,
sure.
Through the games you called, I'm sure when you weren't calling the games, you were kind of keeping a close eye on things. What a team they've got down there.
They do, and when you look back at the evolution of this hockey team, it really started when Dylan Strome got sent back to Erie.
Yeah.
I think they were probably thinking they were going to be a seller before that happened, and then you get the best player perhaps in junior hockey dropped in your lap, coming back to combine with DeBrincat, Taylor Radish, and everybody else, and suddenly they went, wow, this is an opportunity. When you look at the age of their guys, I think their slogan is very apt. All in is their slogan, and you see the Erie fans wearing those on their T-shirts, and they did. They made some great moves at the trade deadline, acquiring a couple of amazing players. Warren Fogle, I think, was such an underrated acquisition at the deadline that people kind of just went, yeah, good player.
Yeah.
I don't know how much he'll
solid
help.
Guy.
He was only the Wayne Gretzky Trophy winner.
Yeah,
that's all. And Dave Brown, I think, he has to get a ton of credit for the moves that he has made to bolster this team and to give them the extra help that they needed here.
If the Otters ever get an overtime game in this tournament, especially if it comes on Sunday, should they get there,
right?
I don't think anyone is not picking Anthony Cirelli
I was
to
just
score
going to
that
say,
goal.
you can guarantee it's going to be Anthony Cirelli in overtime or something.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is just Mr. Clutch. He's nothing short of a winner at everything he does. And you know what? A great story in the fact that really I think the OHL created the major midget draft because of Anthony Cirelli. They should maybe call it the Anthony Cirelli draft.
That would be
because,
a good idea.
you know, late bloomer, a guy that was never drafted, a walk-on player, signed as a free agent. You know, he has a solid year and ends up scoring the key goals to win the Memorial Cup for his hockey club. And so he's acquired. I mean, he plays for the World Junior team that wins silver, was playing incredibly well there, and he's done nothing short of be brilliant for the Erie Otters since they've got him.
It's kind of weird, you know, he scored the overtime winning goal to win the OHL championship, first one for the city in 15 years, and in a way, for the Otters, it's one of the biggest goals in their history for sure, but I guess for him, you know, right now it feels good, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not even his most important
Second
goal.
or third, you know.
Whatever. You know, it's another day in the life of him. You know, they've been looking great at this MasterCard Memorial Cup, and in a tournament where not all the teams have been looking that great.
No.
Windsor and Erie have been, you know, the teams to beat so far, and record-setting night. We were talking about it here yesterday. 12-5. Who would have ever thought we'd have seen a game like that? 7 points for Strom.
Incredible. Dylan Strom, he has just a world of talent, and I think we all are waiting to see what he can do in the National Hockey League for the Arizona Coyotes. I have to think he's going to be part of that turnaround where that team becomes a serious playoff contender for a lot of years. But yeah, 7 points, you know, a record in the Memorial Cup, and he did it so easy as well. I mean, he was just like, you know, effortless, and he was incredible. It was just an amazing performance by Dylan Strom.
So obviously tonight, big game for the Erie Otters, and who would have thought that perhaps their toughest challenge yet would be against one of the non-league champions? But the Windsor Spitfires have been looking great this tournament so far. Winner tonight is going to play for the title on Sunday.
Absolutely, but you know, I think people have sold the Windsor Spitfires a bit short coming into this tournament. You know, they've been ravaged with injuries all year. You know, Logan Brown has been hurt. Logan Stanley, you know, the torn meniscus in January. He's a first-round draft choice of the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, you take a guy or two like that out of your lineup, and anyone's going to have trouble and struggle to replace those quality players like that. So, you know, we knew that this was a good hockey team.
Yeah.
You know, they were 5th in the Western Conference, but they might have been, you know, 7th in the country, really in terms of quality, as we found out here. But I think OHL watchers knew how good this Windsor Spitfires team was. But yeah, I think that the pundits maybe undersold them coming in this tournament, and they're showing that they're a quality team.
Now, I personally think the Otters are going to win tonight. The Spits fans are over there, so I can say that right now. But let's say the Otters somehow, you know, they don't win tonight, and they do have to play the St. John Sea Dogs on Sunday. That's not going to be an easy situation to go into, because obviously
what are you talking about? They got 12 goals against them. Should be
true,
all right.
but you also, you know, you got to know, after St. John, of course, had a great comeback last night. They beat Seattle 7-0. You know they want to play those Erie Otters again and prove something.
Well, you'd have to think so. I mean, it was their worst game of the year by far, and Erie's best, and it just happened to coincide in the same game. And I think we all know that St. John Sea Dogs are a quality hockey team. 11 NHL drafted players. You know, they're certainly a team that, after finding their legs a bit last night with that 7-0 win, I have a feeling that we haven't heard the last from the St. John Sea Dogs.
Oh, absolutely not. Now, assuming the Otters do get to the title game on Sunday, are you here with the broadcast still?
I will unfortunately not be here. No, but Bill Granger will be here.
Bill Granger will be here. So that's good. We got Guelph represented somehow. So
we had to get into the playoffs somehow.
Exactly. It's been a tough sled for us.
It has.
We can't get too much into the Guelph Storm, because somewhere Brian is going to be going, Steve, nobody cares about the Guelph Storm.
You know what, though? The good thing is we're going to have playoff games next year. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah. George Burnett is the head coach and GM. I didn't really see that one coming, even though he's been in Guelph before.
Yes, he has. He was in Guelph for 1 year, a very successful year, of course.
Let's get one of those again.
Yeah, so let's hopefully see something replicated similar to that. But, you know, it's a team that's heading in the right direction. They've added some good pieces. You know, the interesting thing, I think, will be what they do in the import draft, because, you know, they have 2 really good import players already, McNash and Samorukov, and will they trade McNash and then draft a player at that 4th overall selection, or will they pass on drafting a player at 4th overall? You can't trade that selection. From an asset management point of view, I think they trade McNash and draft a player there and get something for McNash.
Which is too bad, because I did enjoy watching Albert McNash
player.
this year. Little inconsistent at times, but he's got a lot of skill.
He's going to get drafted in the NHL draft, probably a 4th or 5th round pick. So he's a good player.
Oh, certainly some assets coming back to Guelph. Oh, I hear something from Brian Thompson saying, Steve, shut up about the Guelph Storm. So we'll move on from that. But Steve, thank you so much for coming out to the tailgate, and best of luck to the Erie Otters. But one last thing.
Sure.
I'm sure you're having a blast calling these Otters games at the Memorial Cup, but I'm sure, in no slight against the Erie Otters, I'd imagine you'd rather it be that other team.
I think that goes without saying for sure, yeah. It's been a fun ride with the Erie Otters, but I'm looking forward to seeing Guelph back with their winning ways.
We need Larry Malott down here calling
There you go,
games.
yeah. That's right.
Thank you, Steve, once again.
No problem,
and you can follow him, of course, on Twitter at PlayByPlayGuy. I got it right this time. When we come back, we continue with Day 6 of the MasterCard Memorial Cup here from Windsor, Ontario.